Hey there! Thanks for joining me for Relax, It's Just Cat Grooming. I'm Lynn, your host and instructor with the National Cat Groomers Institute. This is the show where we answer your burning questions about grooming cats and running a successful business doing it. In today's episode, I'll be discussing 3 questions that we get asked all the time. First, how to prevent no-shows. Second, improving your comb cuts on cats. Third, what kind of brushes should I use on cats? So if you enjoyed today's quick chat, then make sure to click the notifications button on the National Cat Groomers page so you can get notified when we post new videos and content just like this. Let's get started. How do I get my clients to not no-show to their grooming appointments? Oh gosh, this is specifically painful for both employee groomers and grooming business employers. It is time that we lose and cannot get back. By the time we realize that someone has no-show to their appointment, it is often too late to fill that spot, which means it is lost time, never to be recovered. Then we're just sitting around or hoping that we can get a later appointment to come in early. It's just a big mess. So I want to give you some tips on how to cut down your no-shows by half. Yes, by half at least. First, I believe that reducing no-shows is all about managing your clients' expectations. They need to feel invested in this appointment with you, that it is important, and that it makes a big impact on your business when they can't make it. First, you need to list your policies everywhere. Website, Facebook, signage, if you have a lobby, emails, but this is only part of that step. Most clients don't read them, and the majority will forget even if they read them once. I want you to consider something. Think of the grocery store that you shop at every week, the one you visit all the time. You love their sales, you love how they make their little fruit tarts. If you think about if you use coupons with them, if you don't use coupons with them regularly, could you tell me what their coupon policy is right now without looking it up? I'm guessing that you can't. And since you most likely don't remember what their policy is, would you be unhappy if you went there and you couldn't use a coupon that you thought you could? This is just kind of a roundabout way of saying that just because we deal with something on a daily basis doesn't mean that your clients, it's going to stick out for them or they're going to remember. So we have to go over these important things with them throughout the relationship that you have with them. This pretty much means every appointment, every time they make a new appointment or reschedule anything, just kind of add in those policies that is going to affect what they're doing. So this is going to bring me to my next little points, which the first one is to write yourself a script that includes going over the policies when someone is scheduling their appointment. This way, it's not only good for you to get in the habit if you work by yourself, but if you're hiring someone else or if you have front desk staff, you're giving them something to say that makes sure that they say it every single time to every single client. Then follow up those policies with your confirmation email or something in your booking software, your reminder emails. Make sure that they are spaced out enough so that it stays in line with your policy. So if you have a 48-hour policy, do not set your email reminders to be the day before because that would already be past your policy. So don't do that. But I also include in all of my emails, all of my phone calls, my voicemail, my script that I say to clients, their confirmation email, and the reminder email is I talk about my operating hours, when they can drop their appointments, when they can drop their pets off. So I open at 9 a.m. I do not take early or drop-offs than 9 a.m. So if I have an appointment at 9 a.m., I want to make sure that they know that they can't come at 8:30 because I won't answer the door. So 9 o'clock. So I always include my operating hours. I also include when I close or when the pet can be picked up. So I have space since I only groom cats, so the cats can just sit in their carriers. But what I'll do is I always like my clients to tell me when they're going to come pick up. I'm pretty flexible because I work out of my home and I have boarders and grooming clients, but I always tell them, if I'm expecting you, I will be up there to let you in. If I'm not expecting you, I'll be in the back and I can't hear the doorbell. So you just have to let me know when you're coming. But because I don't need the space, they can stay in their carriers and I don't need them to pick up right away. But I usually try to limit it, either come pretty much right now, or if it's going to be longer than, say, 2 p.m., let me know and I'll set your cat up with a litter box. And then you can tell me what time to expect you. This way the client is also participating in this whole thing. They're not just like leaving me high and dry and I have no idea when they're showing up. So for example, if you have appointment policies where they have to pick up within 30 minutes of their appointment, then you need to make sure you are very clear about saying that every time a new client calls and inquires about your appointment scheduling, if someone is booking a new appointment or if they have to reschedule an appointment. Just a reminder, we have, once we call you, you have 30 minutes to pick up your pet because we have other pets coming in. So I just want to make sure that this is going to work with your schedule, that you have that day before we book this appointment. So I always try to turn it back on that I'm helping them, and that way they're going to be much more appreciative instead of me scolding them about something that they need to do. I don't like that. Also, my reminder and confirmation stuff includes their appointment times and then obviously any late or cancellation policies. So if you charge a fee, you definitely want to make that known way in advance. And do not have your fees and policies be overly complicated. It should just be kind of quick bullets that someone can glance at and understand and digest really quickly. No one is going to read your long, drawn-out policy things every single time. They're just going to skip right by it. So you have to really make sure that the big things stick out and make it quick and easy for them to understand. Finally, that reminder email, text, or phone call that reiterates all of those things that I just mentioned. Next, this might seem counterintuitive, but make it easy for them to be able to cancel. I'd rather know as soon as possible if a client needs to cancel or reschedule their appointment instead of for me just waiting for them to not show up at their appointment time. So give them multiple straightforward ways that they can reach you or even adjust their appointment themselves, like through online booking. And just because you have ways for clients to reach you doesn't mean that clients can find them easily. So website, social media, your voicemail, your business listing, in different search engines and mediums, and your printed materials, make sure that they have several ways to get in touch with you. So because I do boarding, I actually have a handout that I give to my boarding clients, and it is specifically how to get in touch with me. Because obviously for my boarders, I want them to be able to check in if they want to, that they feel like they can reach me. But I usually don't answer the phone if I'm grooming because it's loud and I don't want to stop. So they have to either leave a message. And so in those instances, I tell my boarders specifically, text or email is the fastest way to reach me because then I can get back to you, as soon as possible within business hours. So I always tell them within business hours, let's not get too crazy. But I want it to be easy for them to contact me. And so on my website, the first thing you see on my website is exactly how to contact me. My phone number and my email address are big front and center on my website. So always make it really, really easy for them to get in touch with you. Finally, one more and then finally, remind those clients again when they're dropping off what your pickup policies are. So this is going to be not just a no-show tip, but this is also like a don't forget to pick up your pet before I close tip. Always repeat when they can pick their pet up, what time you estimate you'll be finished. I always give myself some extra time, and then I will call you if it's going to be earlier than that. But I always say, we should be done by 1, but I'll call you if it's going to be earlier than that. And if you need to pick up past 2 o'clock, just let me know so I can set them up with a litter box, and we close at 6. So it sounds like you're going to jumble a lot of stuff to them every single time. But once you get that short little script that you mentioned, just a reminder, we close, you can pick up any time that's convenient for you. We close at 5. You can pick up, I'm going to call you and then you have 30 minutes. So I'm going to tell you right now that it's probably going to be about 1 o'clock that I'm going to call you. So just so we're on the same page, always try to give them as much information as possible so that they can bring it up to you, be like, oh no, I've got an appointment at 1 o'clock. I'm not gonna be able to pick up by 1:30. Tell you now instead of you calling at 1 o'clock and then you don't hear anything and then you're just in this weird limbo, and we don't want all that. So repeat it all when they're actually dropping off for the appointment. Talk about it ahead of time. So finally, this is my finally. Get the client involved with their pet's grooming schedule. And what I mean by this is don't just put down, oh, 6 weeks, will be a good schedule for Fluffy. I'm just going to put it on the calendar. Here you go. When the client comes in, ask them if the length of time between appointments has worked for them. Have they solved the issues that you're trying to prevent? If it has been too long in between appointments, ask the client, when did you start noticing these problems? For cats, this is super easy because it's like, well, when did you notice them shedding? Like, how long ago would you say you felt those sharp nails, when they came up and sat on your lap while you watched TV? When did you notice any hairballs, things like that? Then when the client is talking about time and in relationship to their previous appointment and then this appointment is when I can come in and follow it up by, well, let's go ahead. So you noticed these sharp nails a few weeks ago, but her coat wasn't really ready for grooming yet. Well, I offer nail trims in between, so let's go ahead and plan to do a nail trim in between, and then we'll schedule the grooming appointment. That way I see them, and we've solved the problem, and it works with the schedule. Or let's say they're on an 8-week schedule, and that they noticed their cat really was shedding about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and I'll say, well, let's bump up the appointment. We'll do 6 weeks, so that way we can nip all that in the bud, and you don't have to worry about anything. And it's just a little change in the schedule. That way the client feels like they have invested and they're a participant in their pet's care. And so they're going to be much more, they're going to notice it a lot more when it comes up on their calendar, when they see the card on the fridge, when they get your reminder emails. They're going to be like, oh, yes, that's right. I really want to make sure that Fluffy is not super, sheddy or matted or something like that. Get them involved with the process. Now, all of these things will take you some extra time to set up and get used to, but this investment on your part is going to reinforce the investment on their part, especially if you are a specialty or a business with a higher price point, or you might have very limited appointments, like if you only do pets one at a time, and so that way no-shows make a really big difference to you. So those are my tips for cutting your no-shows in half. So the next thing we're going to talk about is how to make your comb cuts look good. I love talking about comb cuts, but they can be really tricky because if you do not get them super squeaky clean during the bath, as soon as you take your clipper and you start removing hair, you're going to see all the grease and all the gunk that is still down by the skin, and you're going to be like, what do I do? At that point, you just have to rewash them because that's just nasty. So the first tip I have for you is to get them super, super squeaky clean all the way down to the skin. I like to use my fingertips and really scrub. With Chubb's Bars is one of my favorite degreasing shampoos that we use. We love at National Cat Groomers. Obviously, Danielle created them specifically for degreasing cats and without all the harsh ingredients and preservatives and stuff that you would find in some liquid shampoos. So we like Chubb's Bars. And this video is sponsored by Just Bars. No, I'm kidding. So squeaky clean all the way down to the skin. If you've got a really greasy, gunky cat, you're going to get all that out before you can bring your clippers with the comb attachments into the equation. Because if they're not clean, it's not going to go through easily. The cat's going to get all pissed off because you're sitting there hacking at the coat, and it's going to look like garbage. And we obviously don't want garbage-looking cats walking out the door, I would assume. At least I don't. Next, after you get them squeaky clean, nice and squeaky clean all over and all those nooks and crannies, you need to make sure they're totally blown dry and thoroughly combed out. So yes, we use a high velocity blow dryer. You can see my Caddyshack sitting here right behind me. I have a canine mini fluffer dryer back there that I use and just to make sure that everything is nice and clean and blown out, and they're all the way nice and clean down to the skin. They're all dry down to the skin, and all that excess hair is going to come out. It's kind of like if you're going to do a husky de-shed and the client wants a comb cut, you're not just going to leave all that dead hair in there before you start hacking at it. You want to remove all that dead coat before you bring the clipper in. So we're going to get them squeaky clean. We're going to remove all the dead coat. You're going to comb them out really thoroughly. All the way down to the skin. We need no knots, no tangles, no clumps, nothing. Then we can bring in our clippers. And so there's a couple things that I want to recommend as far as equipment upgrades. I love clipper vac or hair vac. So mine is a hair vac right there. By Hanby, we also really love the Clipper Vac by Romani. Any of the vac systems are going to do you a huge favor when it comes to comb cuts and making your comb cuts look nice and even all over. So we hook that up to our, I use a Wall KM5, I think is what I have right now, and that's just because that's what I had, because I had an extra one. But I really love all the wall clippers, all the powerhouse clippers. I use bravuras a lot. If you know me at all, you know that I'm obsessed with my bravuras. I actually have a brand new one like sitting right here because I can't not have like 30 bravuras in my grooming space. But I will not use them for my comb cuts because I feel that they just don't have the power. They're my finishing clipper to get my lines nice and straight, my clipper work nice and even and beautiful, line cuts, belly shaves, sanitary trims, all that kind of stuff. But for comb cuts, especially if I have a cat with super, super thick hair, like a Siberian or a Persian, or really just any of my domestic short hairs or long hairs. Yes, I do have some short hair cats that get comb cuts. I need something with more power. So that's where I bring in the KM10, the KM cordless. I have a KM cordless that I use for all my shaving stuff, like all my pre-bath hair. But since your hair vac or your clipper vac has a big cord attached to it, I don't really see the purpose in having a cordless clipper at that point. So I'll just use one of my corded clippers and everything's just plugged in. And I wonder if I can move it over and you can see, I actually have this. Right here is actually my comb cut station. So I found this hydraulic table for 50 bucks on Craigslist. That's what I'm talking about. It has this cool cabinet underneath, and that's where I store all of my clipper vac stuff, all of my comb attachments, everything goes right in there. So after I'm done drying and combing out, I just bring them over to this table, and this is where I do everything with the clipper vac, just because it's too far from my normal table. My more normal table is like over here. So, what is next? Oh, I talked about your powerhouse clipper and then your comb attachment. I personally love the Wall stainless steel comb attachments. I think that they last for a long, long time. They look the nicest. And my favorite lengths are going to be the 0, the 1, and the number 2. Those are like the middle lengths. And to me, they just look the nicest with every kind of cat coat type. So if I have someone that this is their first comb cut, I'll usually do like an O or maybe a 1. If I have someone who says that they got a line cut last time and that was a little too short for them, then I'll do the 2 as long as they're not super, super skinny and bony. I think that those lengths look the best. You can certainly do longer lengths. I don't really care for the shorter lengths because they're so much further apart, and then you've got the clipper blade like right there, and I use a 30 blade under my comb attachments, so I do not want to be skimming cat skin with just a 30 blade, no thanks. So that's why I like the 0, the 1, and the 2. And so I think that's the 5/8 inch, the 1/2 inch, and then the 3/8 inch is I think what those sizes are. So those are my favorite. You can actually see a whole comb cut tutorial that I did in the April 2019 magazine Groomer to Groomer. They had a whole cat issue and they asked me to do a comb cut tutorial, so you can go onto Groomer to Groomer website and check that out for free. I did a whole tutorial for you, just for you. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about in this episode is what kind of brushes do you or should you use on cats? So that's a question I get asked all the time, and honestly, I don't use brushes on cats. Combs are where it's at. That's what you need to do to get a beautiful finish on every cat every single time. To be honest, brushes are either going to be too harsh for delicate cat skin or they're going to be too gentle and they won't do anything. So combs are a really great option for every cat every time. I do use one brush for my short hair cats, and I think it's in the other room or I would grab it, but it's the little Zoom Groom rubber curry brush. I'll use that on short hair cats. In my dryer if I'm just doing some extra de-shedding before I pop them out and do the de-shedding with my hair back. But I like those, and that's also a brush that I'll recommend to my short-haired cat client owners because they're not going to damage their cat's skin and coat by using the rubber curry. To me, it's a very foolproof type of product. But for long-haired cats or even my short-haired cats, it's all about combs. And I love the Chris Christensen combs. Those are my favorites. I think that they last the longest. They have tines that are ground down. So this is my favorite body comb. This is one of their Buttercomb, the 001. I like it because it's fine all the way down. I don't really use the coarse sides of Greyhound style combs very often, so I just got one that was all fine, and this one works the best for me. That's what I use on the body. The cat comb is the one that has these little staggered teeth. I love this. This is such a good comb. I use this for my really densely coated cats. I use it on long-haired cat bodies and on my super fluffy short-haired cats. So I own an exotic short hair, which is basically the density of a Persian, but their hair is short, so he's a shed machine, and this is what's going to get all that coat out without ripping live hair out. But so this is amazing. I love this comb. And finally, you want to make sure that you have a small face and feet comb. So this is the little one. You can see body comb, face and feet comb. The tiny side, people, we're not just, you can kind of go over it once with the coarse side, but you're going to have to go over it with the fine side. So like all down the feet, all around the face is what you need to do. And especially your Persians, Siberians, Maine Coons, all your long-haired ragdolls, Berman, Norwegian forest cats, all those really fluffy cats, and they get these little tiny tufts all down their legs and feet. And I can always tell when a client comes to me and that their cats have been groomed elsewhere before me that they never brush the feet out. And I get it, cats hate it, but you gotta do it because I don't wanna have to shave cat feet. That's just awful. Face and feet comb is where it's going to be. I do have one other comb. I tend to have I do all my dematting in the dryer. Sorry. I do all my dematting in the dryer if I didn't shave it out. Okay, so it's either shaved or saved, and if I'm going to save it, it's going to be in the dryer. So I like to have a comb with a handle, and so I recently found this comb. I think like at Groomers Mall, and oh my god, it's fantastic. So it's nice and sturdy, so when I'm flicking out any little mats smaller than the size of about a nickel, this is what I'm going to use it with in my dryer. So this is a great tool that I'll use, and the tines are not sharp, so I like that. And this was really inexpensive. I think this was I'm pretty sure this was Hershey and Groomers Mall, where they have like that table and it's like got by 5 for $20 or something like that. I'm pretty sure this was on that table. So pretty great little comb. So this is my dematting comb. So anyway, combs over brushes. Your brushes are going to be way too harsh. All those slicker brushes that we use on doodles and big thick coated dogs, it's just too much for our cat friends. The comb is going to go all the way down to the skin. It's not going to irritate the skin, but it's going to be the most effective for getting all that dead hair out. So that wraps up this episode of Relax, It's Just Cat Grooming. If you have any questions or comments, please add them below. If you have a question that you'd like me to address in a future episode, that you can email me at lynn@nationalcatgroomers.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.